Coming up on this episode of Tom Talks Rubbish.
On a personal level, the last 12 months have been some of the toughest that I've dealt with.
Hmm.
Really poor mental health. I was unemployed for 6 months, so I was in a really, really bad spot. Um, so mentally, I was in a bad place, and it would have been so easy, so easy just to go, do you know what? It.
Yeah.
Um, And there were times where I really struggled, and I was like, I'd be in the supermarket and I would actually be in the alcohol aisle going, I could just buy a bottle and no one would know. I could go home and drink this and no one would know.
Hmm.
I could just get up for work or I'd get up the next day. The kids will be at school. Who's going to know if I don't tell them? But it was that whole, not so much letting myself down. I was like, what if someone else finds out?
What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Talks Rubbish, and today I'm back with another interview. This time, I'm joined by someone I'm very happy to get back on the show, a very good friend of mine. I'm joined by the one and only Fiona from Inside the Ropes and Hitting the Turnbuckles. So, welcome back on the show, my friend.
Ah, it's lovely. We were just talking off air. It's been like 3 years. It's a
Oh,
long
yeah.
time. A lot has happened in those years. So it's
Oh,
so good to
definitely.
be back. It's lovely to see you again.
And you, my friend. But if we take this back, Fiona, before we get into any of your work, etc., where do you first discover wrestling as an overall fan?
As an overall fan, so I am old. I am a world of sport girl. So in the 80s, I'm a child of the 70s. So in the 80s, my very first memory of wrestling was staying at my grand's and watching with her. So you're probably talking about 82, 83, maybe.
Hmm.
My gran was a huge wrestling fan, and I used to watch it with her on a Saturday. So that's kind of where I learned about it. And I remember that's my first memory. Obviously, fell away from it for a while. And then my next kind of come back to it, I suppose, really, is not a great phrase to use, was when I went to visit my friend Nicola, who lived along the road from me.
Mm.
And we used to just walk in and out each other's houses, don't chat the door, just open the door and walk in. And I walked in, and you had to walk through her living room to get upstairs. And her brother was sitting watching the telly. And I just happened to turn round and see Talisker, sorry, it's my cat. Happened to see these guys flying through the air. And it happened to be Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels as the Rockers, who very quickly became my favourite tag team. But I was like, what is this? And he was like, oh, it's wrestling. And it was on like B Sky B at the time, or BSB or whatever it was called. And instead of going upstairs to hang out with Nicola, I sat and watched it with her brother. And it's kind of never really left me since. I've dipped in and out over the years. I don't watch masses of it now, but I do like to keep up to date with what's going on social media and things. And obviously now I'm pretty heavy involved in the scene up here in Scotland. So
Mm.
yeah, it's been a while. You're looking at a good 40 plus years.
That's really, really cool. You mentioned being involved in up in the scene in Scotland and things like that. So how do you go from I like wrestling, I'm going to watch wrestling, to I want to do something involved in the industry?
It was never a plan. I never planned on getting involved in the wrestling scene. It was never something I set out to do. It was a case of going to a show one night, and the promoter, who I did know because he was local, was like, "Have you got your car with you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Any chance you can take this person to their hotel?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, no worries." Next show came around. "Are you coming to the show?" "Yeah." "Have you bought a ticket?" "No." "Don't buy a ticket. Can you go and pick up so and so from the train station or the airport?" "Yeah, no worries." And so I went from kind of just running around being taxi for the talent that were coming up, or the non-local talent, to
Mm,
selling merch, and becoming the kind of talent liaison, or particularly the international talent liaison for British Championship Wrestling,
mm,
which led on to me running around people for other promotions. But it was at a British Championship Wrestling show that Kenny McIntosh from Inside the Ropes came along to Flyer for his first big tour with Sting.
Mm.
So he was flying in the seats before the show and had said to Graham Mackay, the promoter at British Championship Wrestling, do you know anyone that would possibly do some driving for me for this
Hmm.
tour? And Graham introduced Kenny to me, and I got the time off work, and it's just kind of grown arms and legs since then. But I've been with Inside the Rope. I've been with obviously British Championship Wrestling for well over 10 years now, and I had my 10th anniversary with Inside the Ropes last year.
We talked about this off air, but time just seems to be a flat circle at the
Oh
moment,
my
doesn't it?
goodness, it's crazy. It
It's
goes by so quickly, so
oh,
quickly.
oh, definitely. How have you seen Kenny and Inside the Ropes grow then in that 10 years?
So when I first met Kenny, the Sting Tour was the first big tour he'd done. He'd had a couple of one-off shows. I think he'd had one with Sonny. I think he might have had one with DDP as well at this point. But
Mm.
this was the first big kind of tour across the UK, and we had like 3 or 4 dates, I think. We did Glasgow, Manchester, London. I don't know if we did any more than that. The shows were well received, and it obviously became something that continued over the years. But other than the spoken word tour, the website took off. The Inside the Ropes website took off. And then that grew, and the Patreon took off, and the YouTube channel took off. And then eventually, obviously, he's moved into printed media. So they've got the Power Slam magazine plus the Inside the Ropes magazine. Now he doesn't have the Inside the Ropes, which is I think this ITR Wrestling now. That's been sold on to somebody
Mm.
else, but we still have the Inside the Ropes page and the social media pages and things like that. As a company, it's grown and it's grown from strength to strength. He's got a phenomenal team in all different aspects who really know their stuff. They're all really, really passionate about the industry. And he's just done an amazing job with it. We just did a show last night in Glasgow, actually, with D'Lo Brown, which was
Yeah.
so well received. D'Lo was incredible. He was so engaging, so entertaining. His stories were brilliant. At the meet and greet afterwards, the fans were just like, "This is one of the best shows we've actually ever been to," and it's repeat visitors. A
Mm.
lot of the live events are people that we see show after show after show after show.
What is amazing about you, Fiona, is you're very good at making each fan's interaction with that wrestler personal because I think I shared this story last time I had you on the show, but like I am a wheelchair user,
Yeah.
obviously, and you were very good at saying to, I think it was Regal, like, look, there's a guy here because of the venue that the Regal one was in Manchester. Was there stairs? I
It
think there
was
was.
that at Gorilla? I think it was at Gorilla. Yeah, there was
Mm,
stairs up onto the stage where we had the meet and
mm.
greet and things like that.
You were very good at going, look, there's a guy here. He's bought a meet and greet ticket. Will you come down and just meet him? Because for obvious reasons, I couldn't get up the stairs.
Yeah.
And that meant a lot to me. I'm not going to lie to you.
Well, that's for me, that's really, really important. You've paid good money to come and see the show. You've paid good money to come and meet the guys that you want to meet and get your photographs and get your autographs. It's my job hosting the meet and greet to make it as smooth, as
Mm,
easy, and as natural as possible for people. I'm very big on customer service. My whole background, my whole life's been customer service, so I'm very much focused on making it the best possible experience for both the guest, but the fans as well.
yeah.
So it's important that the fans come along and they have a good time and they're relaxed and they're not overly rushed during the meet and greet. Obviously, we don't want every fan taking 5, 10 minutes because then we'd be there for hours and hours and
All I
hours.
remember from the Regal one is we had to hurry him along. He was very interested in
Mr. Regal
talking
would
to
talk to
everyone.
everyone for as long as he could get away with. So there are occasions where I kind of have to step in and be like, we need to speed this up a little bit. And the talent are like, all right, okay, fair enough. I'm
Mm,
like, you've still
yeah.
got 120 folk to get through.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That was a great one. But also something else I want to say is you're very good at. I don't know how many non-wrestling fans have come to a show, but I bought a non-wrestling fan. You might remember this. I bought my carer at the time, a non-wrestling fan, and you were very good at not making him feel pressured to go up and things like that. And just,
Absolutely. A lot of the times there's fans will bring a friend, a parent, a sibling, a partner with them because they had the ticket and they don't know much about wrestling. They don't even
mm,
know who the person on the stage is. They've just been kind of dry, oh, you're coming out with me tonight, let's go sort of thing. So from that point of view, I'm never really going to force people to go up and speak to people if they don't want to or anything like that. Again, you just want to make it as relaxed as possible because the more
mm.
relaxed it is, the more enjoyable it is for everyone all round.
How did you go from like the driver then to the sort of manager of the meet and greets for Inside the Ropes?
It was always a dual role.
Oh, was
So
it?
it was
All right.
always, it's always been a dual role. It was always my responsibility to pick the talent up from the airport, the train station, get them to the hotel, get them to the venue, make sure that they've got food and all that sort of thing. And that was always my role, but my role was also to try and make sure the meet and greet ran smoothly. So even just simple things like making sure they've got their items ready to get signed so that
Mm,
they're not coming to the front of the queue and then opening a rucksack and digging through a rucksack trying to get their stuff out, which is now we've kind of moved over the course of the tours. We've learnt what works and what doesn't. So I now take the items off the the fans before they meet them, and I'll put them down on the table so that I know that the page is open at the right place if it's a book
yeah.
or the belt's the right way up if it's going to get signed and things like that. So it's always been my kind of role to do, but it's been a dual role basically.
Mm. Was that something that Kenny was like, how do you feel about this? Or was that something that like you knew going in, if that makes sense?
Um, in terms of the meet and greet side of things, I'm not actually, I can't really remember. Like I always knew I was going in as a driver. I always knew I was going in as the kind of chauffeur stroke PA.
Mm,
But in terms of the meet and greet side of things, it was just one of these, because I'd been with the talent, I'd already managed to build up a little bit of a rapport with them.
mm,
So I think that was probably some of the thinking behind it of me doing the meet and greets because by this point I'd maybe been in the car with them for several hours getting from A
mm.
to B and we'd had a chance to have a chat and they were maybe a wee bit more relaxed because there was someone there that they knew. So
Yeah.
but I don't ever really remember having a discussion about that, saying, look, this is what you're going to do. I think it was just one of those things that just kind of fell in and it worked.
You mentioned building up a rapport with the talent there and things like that. What do you do as the sort during the events when you're getting them from A to B? What do you do to build up that rapport?
I don't talk about wrestling.
Okay.
I talk about life. I don't feel I know enough. I know every single guest that we've had. There's no one come that I've been like, I don't know who this person is. Because let's be honest, we've had some pretty huge guests.
Oh yeah.
But I don't feel like I know enough to talk about wrestling with them. And I'm also very conscious of the fact that they're here to do a job. That drive, whether it's from London to Glasgow or Glasgow to Manchester or whatever, that's their downtime.
Mm,
So I'm very conscious of that. I'm very conscious of not encroaching on that time by wanting to know how did you feel about this match on this occasion or what happened at WrestleMania, whatever. So we generally tend to talk about life, about our families, about where we're from. We'll talk about gun crime in the US versus knife crime in the UK.
yeah.
We'll talk about cannabis laws in America and what they're like over here. We'll talk about the healthcare system. We'll have sing-alongs if the radio's on and a good
Oh
song's on. We'll have
wow.
a sing-along. Like, just generally talk about life. I feel it's important not to harass them with wrestling chat, to be honest with you.
I understand that completely there. Who was the wrestler that you're, I don't want you to disparage anyone or things like that, but who was the wrestler that you're like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna have a lot in common with them, but then you ended up being like old pals, if that makes sense. You realized, oh wow, we got a lot in common actually.
That's quite a hard question to ask, actually. That's not really something I ever think about. I think there's been wrestlers that have come along that have maybe been really quiet in the car.
Mm,
And there's been occasions where it's been not awkward, but a little bit kind of like, oh, I wish there was a bit more chat.
mm,
But more often than not, there's never really been an issue. There's never really been anyone that have said, oh, this is going to be a difficult car ride or whatever with. So there's not really been anyone, to be honest with you.
No, I understand that completely. Can you do me a favor? Tell your Dustin Rhodes story because I absolutely love that Dustin Rhodes story.
Dustin, man, what a dick. I love him so much. So I presume you're referring to the car one.
I am,
Yeah,
yes.
so we were coming into, I can't remember if it was Manchester or Birmingham. Dustin's agent Scott at the time was in the front seat. Dustin's in the back. Dustin's a big guy, so he took the back seat so he could stretch out and everything. I had this big car. It was a big, big SUV, and we were going into this parking garage, and it was tight. It was really, really tight. And as I'm driving up the ramp to get to the barrier to get into it, Dustin's like, "You're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it." And I'm like, "Shut up, I'll be fine." Like, and by this point, we'd been on the road for a couple of days, so he was winding me up good and proper. And I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
"We'll be fine." He's like, "Fiona, you're not gonna make it." He's like, "The roof's really low. This car's really high." And unbeknownst to me, he wound his window down in the
Mm,
back seat. And we get right up to the top, and then I was like, shit, this is really tight. Am I going to
mm,
make it? Because you literally came in and then you had a tight corner. So I started very slowly turning to go around the corner. And the next thing I hear this almighty bang on the side of the car, and I'm
mm.
like, fuck. I'm like, oh my God. And I stopped the car. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. And Scott's going, are you okay? What have you hit? What have you hit? And I'm like, shit, Kenny's going to kill me. I've damaged the car. It was not me. It was Dustin playing prank, and
Oh, I
Dustin had
love
basically put
that
his
stuff.
hand outside of the car and scalped the side of the car just as I was coming round the corner. And I literally had like this much room, but he scalped the side of the car to make me think that I had hit the car. And
I'm
he was
so
laughing so hard in the back, and I just looked in the rear view mirror and I was like, "You, sir, are an asshole." And he
have
was
you
just laughing so hard.
have you had any interactions with him since that? Or, like, does
I
he
like obviously
remember that
we
sort
had
of
the
thing?
rest of the tour and we've had a couple back and forward. The whole sobriety thing with me, as you well know, that I'm still on that journey. He's sent a couple of tweets back and forward and messages and things. So yeah, um, a couple, yeah, but I'll never let him get that one. Next time I meet him properly, I'll be like, you.
You mentioned your sobriety journey and things like that. I was trying to look for a segue to bring that up, but you did it for me, so I really appreciate that
No props.
and things like that. So when we talked last time, this is how long it's been since you've been on the show.
Oh
I think
God.
you just passed the 1 year mark, or not
hmm
long past the 1 year mark since last time, and you've just passed 4 years.
4 years in January there,
Mm.
yeah.
So how did that feel to pass 4 years?
That was a buzz. I probably celebrated that more than I celebrated my birthday this year. That's huge. 4 years has been huge. And on a personal level, the last 12 months have been some of the toughest that I've dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
Really poor mental health. I was unemployed for 6 months, so I was in a really, really bad spot. So mentally I was in a bad place, and it would have been so easy, so easy just to go, do you know what? It.
Yeah.
Um, and there were times where I really struggled, and I was like, I'd be in the supermarket and I would actually be in the alcohol aisle going, I could just buy a bottle and no one would know. I could go home and drink this and no one would know.
Mm-hmm.
I could just get up for work, or I'd get up the next day, the kids will be at school. Who's going to know if I don't tell them? But it was that whole not so much letting myself down. I was like, what if someone else finds out
Mm.
I'm letting them down? And I was letting all the people down around about me that have been so supportive. So to hit that 4 years, having gone through the 12 months that I'd gone through, was absolutely enormous for me. And I had the biggest cake to celebrate. It was so good.
That's really, really cool. I obviously we follow each other on social media, and I always have a little smile when I say she's done it. She's done another year, if that makes sense.
I still believe in holding myself accountable.
Mm,
I was very public with it from the start. Um, and every so often I went from posting every week to every month. And then this year I was like, do I continue to post my monthly updates or do I just do it yearly? And I thought about it and I looked back at all the messages I've received in the last year, even
Mm,
from people I know, but a lot of people that I don't know who'd seen my posts and were like, thank you for posting that. I needed to hear that because I post about the good times, but I also post about the bad times and I post about the
mm,
struggles and I post about when I'm having a bad day or when I'm really, really struggling not to just go and let's have a drink sort of thing. And I went, "Do you know what? It's really important for me to keep doing that for
yeah,
myself, to hold myself accountable, but for all these other people who are looking at me going, if she can do it, then maybe I can do it too." So every month you'll still get an update.
that's really, really cool. When you're going through those times last year and things like that, you mentioned not wanting to let people down and things like that. What was the biggest thing that stopped you going, nope, not going to open that drink of choice, shall we say?
Um, I'm not good with guilt. I
Mm,
don't handle guilt very well. I don't handle lying very well. And I don't think I would have been able to lie to people and then live with the guilt of the lie.
mm.
Um, my kids have seen me at my worst,
Oh, yeah.
but they've also seen me at some of my best the last few years, particularly now that I'm not drinking. And I think that that was a big thing for me. Like, I don't want anyone to see me. I didn't want to fail.
Mm.
Again, I think it's just going back to that. I don't want to let people down.
Mm. You mentioned as well, because I watched back our last interview to make sure that I didn't overly repeat
God, you're going to
myself,
remember more than I do then.
if that makes sense. You mentioned during our last interview that the first tour was something you really struggled with because it's very sociable. And we mentioned the
hmm
UK, for some reason, sociable equals alcohol, if that
At
makes sense.
100%,
And
100%.
you did mention that like you struggled with that first tour. So
I
where are
did.
you now when it comes to the tours?
I am much better now, to the point that I will now pour Kenny his his show drink. I can pour the drink. I can get the
Vodka
vodka. I can
and
pour the drink and put it on
vodka
stage.
and Coke, if memory serves, right?
It's a Kenny special. It's 2 shots of vodka or more if I'm free pouring, ice and Diet Coke and a pint glass. That's the Kenny special. So he always has that on stage. I felt really uncomfortable doing that before. Now I'm like, nah, it's fine. What do the talent want if they want to be here? So I'm fine doing all that now. What generally tends to happen is because I'm driving, I couldn't drink anyway.
Yeah.
So while the talent would maybe go to the pub after the show, more often than not, I'm driving to the airport or I'm driving to a hotel that's maybe not that close. And I'm now at the stage of like, I can't be arsed going back to go and sit in a pub. So I just don't bother. I just go and order food and a Coke or a cup of tea and just go and sit in my hotel till they all come back. So it's
Mm.
fine.
You mentioned till they come back, but do you miss that social aspect or are you like, look, this is just part of my routine
A
now?
little bit, but you know, I've got used to it now. I think even out with the wrestling, um, I've pulled back a lot on a lot of my life revolved around going to the pub and going for a drink.
Mm,
Or going round to a friend's house and having a bottle of wine, and I've pulled back from that a lot.
mm,
This is going to sound really sad, but my entire social life pretty much revolves around wrestling now.
mm.
And because I'm always driving to shows, I don't really notice it so much anymore.
And I think it's for you as well, something I'm picking up on is like, if I drink again, I could lose quite a lot, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
that's my problem. I could not just have one drink.
Mm,
I couldn't go to the pub and go, one's not going to hurt. Because one is going to hurt because I'm going to have one and then I'm going to want another one and then I'm
yeah,
going to want another one. And I had this conversation with my mum not that long ago. She was just saying she was really proud of me and everything and how far I'd come and how well I'd done and everything. And we were talking about drinking and she was like, I drink because I like the taste of it. And I was like, okay. I was like, Mum, I drank to get drunk.
yeah,
And she was like, I'm sorry, what? Now she's just turned 80, right? She was like,
okay.
she couldn't get her head around it. I was like, I drank to get drunk. I didn't drink because I liked the taste of it. I would drink shit that I didn't even like. But I knew that if I had it, I would get drunk quicker.
Mm.
So I did. I drank to get drunk. So it was a totally, yeah. Yeah. I don't really know what else to say to that, to be honest with you.
No, but I understand where you're going with that completely and
Yeah.
things like that. To try and find a segue is a bit difficult here, but I'm gonna
No,
try.
go for it. Go for
How
it.
how do you now deal with burnout? Since you become a bit more of a podcaster as well with the NWA stuff on hitting the
Hmm.
turnbuckles and things like that. How do you then go, this has been a long tour, or this wasn't the best show. I don't really want to review this, Adam. How do you deal with burnout?
Normally it involves my bed, this blanket, a cup of tea, and cartoons or natural history documentaries or
Oh,
dinosaur documentaries. I watch tons of David Attenborough stuff. I'll just switch off. Um, Life is busy with on the wrestling front, so it's a rare weekend when I have a weekend off. When I've got like a Friday night, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday. More often than not, I've got at least one thing going on over the weekend.
mm,
So it's rare for me to have a whole weekend off. And when I do, it generally tends to be I don't want to do anything. I just want to chill because obviously now, particularly, I'm working Monday to Friday now, so I'm working all week. If I've got a little bit of energy left, though, I'll take off. I'll go to the beach or I'll get myself outdoors somewhere
yeah.
rather than indoors. But if it's just a night, so say I've got a Friday night off and I know I've got shows Saturday, Sunday, I will curl up under the blanket on a sofa or in my bed and watch telly with tea.
That's really, really
Rock and
cool.
roll, baby.
That's right. No, but I think a lot of this, because I had this conversation when I first moved out, because to peel the curtain back, I've told this story a bit. I developed, I don't know if I was an alcoholic, but I know that I was drinking a lot more when I
It's
lived on
so
my,
easy, so
because
easy.
because as well, my mum would go, "Do you really need that?" And I'd go, "No,"
No, but I want
because
it.
no. Well, yeah, but also on the flip side, I had nobody to say, "Do you really need that?" So I'd open a bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do fully get where you're coming from with that and things like that. So I can definitely understand that. How do you then go from I'm doing all this wrestling stuff. I'm going to add something else to my plate. I'm going to start doing reviews with the great people that are hitting the turnbuckles.
That was another accident. I think it was after we had talked the first time, Adam had reached out and asked me if I wanted to go on and talk and chat with him on the podcast. So we kind of had an interview.
Mm,
But Adam had also, I'm trying to remember the timeline here, and he'll totally kill me if I get this wrong. But I think he was aware of Inside the Ropes by this point and had been to a couple of shows and things. And we just got chatting about NWA, and I was saying I'd watched NWA, and he was like, old NWA, and I'm like, no, current NWA, and he was like, what? I'm like, it's on YouTube. They
mm,
have a show called Power. Go and watch it. And by this point, this was post-COVID, so we'd missed the first seasons that had happened before COVID. And I was like, you should go and check it out. I was like, it's 45, 50 minutes a week. It's old school TV wrestling, or studio wrestling, sorry. And go and check it out. And he came back to me and he was like, I really enjoyed that. And then he was like, do you fancy reviewing the show this week? And I was like, yeah, no worries. So we did one review and then he really enjoyed it and he really enjoyed watching it. And then it just became a thing. So he's not seen all episodes. NWA actually tomorrow. So this is as of us filming, tomorrow will be the 17th of March.
yeah.
And their 250th episode of Power airs tomorrow night.
Oh, wow.
So he's not seen all of them, but I have been there since day one of Power. So and I love doing the reviews with Adam. We agree on a lot of things. Sometimes we agree to disagree,
Mm,
and sometimes we don't agree to disagree, but we disagree anyway. But generally, I love doing the NWA stuff with Adam. It's good fun.
that's really, really cool. When you mentioned, obviously, that we did our first podcast and that led to another interview and things like that, was that something you were looking to do, or was it very much like, oh, this is out of my comfort zone, but let's see how this goes?
What the interview thing or the actual podcast
A
thing?
bit of both, sort of thing.
The interview thing's always uncomfortable. It always I spoke to someone on the phone earlier today and we were talking about my MCing and things like that, and he was saying, "Oh, you should try and market yourself, and do this or this." And I was like, "I'm not wanting to blow my own trumpet. I'm
Mm.
not somebody that goes, 'Look at me, I'm brilliant. Let me talk about me.'" Even now, I get really nervous. I've done the show hundreds of times. I stand behind the same curtain. I hear the same music. I know exactly when I have to go out to hit the beat to get in the ring at the right time, and I still
Mm.
get nervous. Talking about myself is something I'm getting used to. I've done a few interviews now, and
Yeah.
obviously I'm putting myself out there on a stage. It shows at the weekend, so I kind of have to be a bit more comfortable with public speaking and whatever. The podcast thing scared me.
Mm.
Um, I'm not a technical person.
Mm.
I'll see a move in the ring, and I mean, I know what a suplex is, I know what a clothesline is. I now know what a step up into Guri is, for example. So there's things that I know, but I'm just like, that's a spinny thing. And I was kind of
Yeah.
like, I felt the pressure to know what certain things were, but it became very quickly apparent to me that that didn't really matter. Like, as long as my passion and my love and my enthusiasm came out, then we
Yeah.
would be all good. And Adam's got a whole host of knowledge. So whereas he knew the knowledge of the actual technical move side of things, I had the knowledge of the individuals. I had the knowledge of the characters because it was new to him. So it actually ended up working really, really well.
That's really, really cool. As we start wrapping this up, because I do want to be respectful of your time, I have a bit of a self-indulgent question,
Go
and
for
this
it.
is very self-indulgent. You've been on the show a couple of times, you've seen my work and things like that. Where have you seen me improve? Where do I need to improve? Everything in between.
You asked me this last time. I can't remember what I said last
I
time.
can't either.
Um, I remember last time we spoke for ages. I think the podcast ended up being quite long last time. So I think doing shorter things is better, mainly because I'm talking from a personal point of view. I don't have a long attention span, which is why I
Mhm.
love Power, because it's only 45, 50
Yeah,
minutes. I don't have the attention span for 3 hours. And I don't think people want to listen to someone rabbit on for like 2 hours or 3 hours. So, and I think your caliber of guests that you've had on lately have been brilliant. Like I know that you've done some really, really good stuff lately. Um, I honestly I feel like you've put me on the spot here, but I don't think there's anything that I would change. You're just dead chilled. You see some podcasts and they're very regimented and very sort of it's almost like they've got their list of questions and it's like boom, 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 boom. But you're very natural at conversing.
mhm.
So I think as long as you keep that up, then everything's going to be rosy and it'll just keep growing.
I really appreciate that. You talked about my success there and things like that. I'm curious to know, Fiona, how do you define success for like your wrestling career and things like that? And do you view it
Wow, that's
as
a
a
good
success?
question. I think as long as obviously you know that I do a lot of MCing up in Scotland. I
Hmm.
MC for loads and loads of well, not loads and loads, but quite a number of promotions up here. I think as long as the fans go home happy at the shows and the fans know what's going on, that's a win for me.
Mm.
Um, I think it's a win for me and success when I come home happy
Yeah.
and I'm not beating myself up. I still make mistakes. I
Mm.
made one the other weekend, quite a spectacular one the other weekend, because I just had an absolute brain fart in the ring and I fixed it, but it wasn't one of those mistakes that the fans wouldn't have known. Sometimes you make a mistake and the fans wouldn't realise, but this was quite a spectacular faux pas.
Yeah.
And I was like, you need to own this. Don't get embarrassed, just own it. And I was like, sorry guys, I ballsed up here. Let's try this again, sort of thing. Um, so as long as I come home happy that I've done a good job to the best of my abilities, then I count that as a success for myself as well. I
Mm.
think yeah, I think it's very much success is very much a personal thing for me.
Yeah. Would you?
Um, sorry, on you go.
No, no, sorry. Go carry on.
No, I was going to say like there are occasional nights where I'll come home and I'm like, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. I missed this. I didn't pick up on that. And those nights I come home and go, yeah, tonight wasn't a good night in the office for me. So, and you do get nights like that. But then the
Yeah.
alternative, you come home some nights and you're like, I friggin' smashed that. Like, I knocked this out the park.
Mm. Yeah.
So it
I,
swings and roundabouts, really.
oh, I fully appreciate that. There's some podcasts that I'll be like, that went really well. And there's some that I'm like, oof, when I do the clips and what have you, that's going to be a struggle, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. And that's only natural. You can't be on your A game 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, I'm sure people would beg to differ, but I know I can't be on my A game constantly all the time. I try, and I try to get as close to it as I possibly can.
Mm.
But there's days I'll maybe have had a hellish day at work or whatever, and then I have to go straight into a show, and you're still trying to separate your day-to-day life to your
Yeah.
show life. And sometimes it's difficult. Or you've had some bad news and you have to go out and be a professional, and inside you're just like, oh, I mean, some days last year when I was going through a really tough time,
Yeah.
I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to put my makeup on. I didn't want to dress up, and I didn't want to go and stand in front of a ring and pretend life was great. And that I was really, really excited about being in the show when all I wanted to do was curl up in a ball in my bed and disappear from the world.
Mm.
So you can't always be 100%, 100% of the time.
Mm. I understand that completely there. What do you want your ultimate legacy to be as an MC and just in the wrestling space?
Oh, God, I should have foreseen something like this coming. I don't think it's a personal legacy. I think it's more, I just want to see the companies in a better state than they were in before I came along. And I don't mean that to make it sound like it's me. I just mean in general, I want to see the companies evolve and I want to see the companies grow as part of that team,
Yeah.
not as the individual MC.
Mm.
Um, I've been so busy, and I'm sure there is other people that want to come in and MC and do stuff. I'm not willing right now to give up my spot. I'm just putting that right out there. I am not willing to give up my spot. I'm going to be 50 in 2 years' time. There's going to come a point where I'm going to be like, do you know what? I'm getting too old for this.
Yeah.
It's time to step aside and let a new face come in. And I will do that as graciously as I possibly can. But in the meantime, I'm just keen that the companies that I work for, my home promotions in particular, so PBW and BCW and W3L, to name just a few of them, I just want them to be in a stronger, better position than they are currently.
Mm. I understand that completely. And that's a beautiful way to end this, if I'm honest. But before we do, we're going to do the classic Tom Talks Rubbish wrap-up segment known as generic wrestling questions.
Oh God, this is where I balls up. Okay, hit me.
Those those of you that have seen my interviews before, when I'll ask Fiona her favorite match, favorite overall pay-per-view card, favorite wrestler's entrance music, favorite tag team, and the biggest generic question of all, guys, her favorite overall wrestler of all time. Basically, the questions I assume you're asked on social media or at shows, so now you'll have a place to be like, guys, I've answered this.
Go and check this
So what's
podcast
this?
out, or don't check the last question out because I couldn't answer
Fair enough.
it.
But what do you think your favorite overall match of all time is?
Wow. I think just because it sticks in my memory, don't ask me when it was. I'm pretty sure it was WrestleMania. But because of who was in it, I think it was when Shawn retired Ric Flair.
Mm. WrestleMania 24.
See, I couldn't have told you that.
Why does that one speak to you as a fan?
A, Shawn Michaels alongside Marty Jannetty at the time was one of the reasons that I really fell back into wrestling.
Mm.
And B, I had always been a big fan of Ric Flair.
Mm.
Um, always been a fan of Ric Flair's. And I think just the raw emotion from both of them that night is something that really stuck with me. So I'm gonna say that. Now I could probably go back after we're off air and go, actually, no, it was this, but that's the one that springs to mind for me off the top of my head.
That's really, really cool. What about your favorite overall pay-per-view card?
You know, I don't watch a lot of wrestling,
Mm,
so that's a hard one for me to answer. Um, I couldn't tell you a card, but in terms of pay-per-view, I am going to say my favorite was WrestleMania 34.
mm.
And the only reason I'm going to say that is because it was my first live WrestleMania.
Ah, that's really, really
I
cool.
can't remember much about it, mainly because I was in New Orleans and I hadn't stopped drinking and I'd had a skinful.
Ah,
And also, I think I was so overcome with emotion. I cried when I walked into the arena that night.
mm.
I actually cried. There's a photo of me with tears in my eyes because I was like, I'm actually here. I never thought I would get to WrestleMania. So I can't, I think Triple H and Stephanie were there on motorbikes or
Yeah, they
something.
faced Ronda and Kurt on that show.
That's right. Yeah. So oh, there you go. I remember something then. So
That's really, really cool.
so I'm going to say that purely because it was my first WrestleMania and I will never ever forget walking in the arena and seeing that set and everything. So
That's really, really cool. What about your favorite wrestler's entrance theme?
okay. So you can't beat you'd be hard pushed to beat Stone Cold's glass breaking.
Hmm.
But and I'd like people to understand this. I knew of Living Colour long before I knew who CM Punk was.
Okay.
I had Living Colour albums in my house that I used to listen to as a teenager.
Okay.
And Cult of Personality for a long time was on repeat on my CD player. So I am going to say Cult of Personality.
That's really, really cool. I have a feeling who this will be, but who are your favorite tag team?
So it was the Rockers.
Okay.
I was heartbroken with the barbershop. Absolutely heartbroken. So it was the Rockers. Currently, I love the tag teams in NWA.
Mm,
There's some really good tag teams. I love the Immortals, which is Odinson and JR Kratos. Um, I love the Country Gentlemen, which is AJ and Casey Kazana.
mm.
Um, I was a Hardys fan. I was a Hardys fan, and I've also been a big Usos fan as well. So, but of all time, I'm going to say the Rockers.
That's really, really cool. And then finally, Fiona, the biggest generic question, in my opinion. Who is your favorite overall wrestler of all time?
Why you make me pick just one?
You don't have to.
Damn. I'm going to pick a couple. I'm going to cop out. I'm going to pick a couple. I'm going to put Ric Flair up there.
Mm,
I'm going to put Dusty Rhodes up there. And I am going to put, I'll put one more. Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes. I'm going to put The Undertaker up there because he scared the shit out of me for years and I met him and he's the loveliest human being.
that's really, really cool. Can I ask for one more, maybe, so we can do a full Mount Rushmore?
Okay, so one more. So I think one more. I'm going to put Edge on that.
That's really, really cool. Obviously, as we wrap this up, Fiona, I want to say thank you for a great conversation. But the question I end this show on is I believe as YouTubers, podcasters, even just some people with some good old social media, we're all sort of going to live forever in a very, very strange way if you think about the world.
Strange to think about, isn't
It's very
it?
weird to think about, isn't it? But if there's one piece of content you're like, I'd like to be remembered for that, what is it? And then what is the one that you're like, nah, guys, please don't remember me for that?
Oh my goodness. So one piece that I'd like to be remembered for. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, but our original podcast, the
Mm.
Wrestling with Sobriety one, was really important to me. And I had people reach out to me after that, and it was raw, and it was real, and it was from the heart. And it was at a time in my life when I was still really struggling with everything.
Oh yeah.
And I'm really, really proud of that. I'm really, really proud of the fact that I had the courage to sit down and talk so openly about it. So I am going to say that.
I
And I
really
actually do
appreciate it.
have a link to, I've got my link tree and I do have a link to just that one podcast on my link tree.
I've seen that, and I was very much like, oh, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
In terms of one that I don't want to see again, I don't really know if there's been anything that I've done that I'm embarrassed of, or I've been like, oh, I should never have done that. So there's maybe been one or two shows where I've gone, oh, I could have said this better or said that better. So in terms of podcasts and things, I'm like, nah, I can't pick anything on that one. Go and watch them all.
That's really cool, though. But as we wrap this up, Fiona, obviously I want to say thank you for another great conversation.
No, thank
But
you for having me.
where can the good people find you, your work, etc.?
Oh, so you can find me viewing permitting, depending on whether I can get access to it, on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast at HTT Buckle on Instagram and on Facebook and on Twitter. So I do the NWA podcast every week. Adam and the team do loads of other stuff on there, but I'm only on that. We've done a whole load of interviews with NWA talent and things like that too. You can catch me most weekends somewhere around Scotland, whether it's with Premier British Wrestling, British Championship Wrestling, Saltire Championship Wrestling, W3L, Pro Wrestling Scotland. Occasionally you can find me at Pro 2, you can find me at Respect Pro Wrestling occasionally at Valor Pro Wrestling. I've been down to Target a couple of times, so you can pretty much find me dotted about the country with that. And then in terms of social media, I do have an Instagram, I do have an X stroke Twitter, and I do have Snapchat, and I always get my handles mixed up. So I'm just going to double check. So my X handle's at Trixie Licks. My Instagram handle is at Trixie_Licks. And I can't remember what my Snapchat is, but I don't really use it very often.
That's really, really cool. One of the hardest working people in this space, but one of the nicest as well.
Aw, shucks, you're too kind.
So if you guys like this, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Tom Talks Rubbish on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter or at Tom Talks Rubbish, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye now.
Thanks for watching this Tom Talks Rubbish conversation. Before you go, please make sure you leave a like on the video, share it around, and subscribe to Tom Talks Rubbish on YouTube, as well as follow Tom Talks Rubbish on Twitter/X.